Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Unity of Bremerton online service this morning. Let's get started with some music from Michael Gregory.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome from Port Angeles, Washington here, and cloudy Port Angeles, Washington this morning. So you don't have to stand up this time unless you want to. You can dance around the room or do whatever you want to do. Hi. Oh, there, I can see myself now. Something happened to my guitar. It shrunk. I don't know what happened, but anyway, here we go. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Woo-hoo.
All right, so welcome to Unity of Bremerton online this morning. We are very happy that you have joined us today. Our guest speaker today is Reverend Joanna Gabriel, and our guest musician today is Michael Gregory. And now we've got another song from Michael, Like a Sunbeam.
Like a sunbeam to the sun, I am one with God. Like a wave upon the ocean, I am one with God. I am one with God. I am one with God. Like a sunbeam to the sun, I am
Thank you, Michael. All right, our next step in our process is the lighting of the Christ candle and our mission statement. So the lighting of the Christ candle represents the divine light within each of us. And our mission statement, we are a welcoming community supporting our mutual quest for spiritual truth. And our invocation and statement of faith, there is one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotence. And the reading of the daily word in honor of our dear Marilyn. Today's daily word, understanding. I open myself to spiritual understanding. When I feel frustrated by a personal or professional challenge, or feel unsafe or concerned about a situation or event, I seek greater understanding. When I try to understand, I open my heart. Maybe I just need to gather more information or request the advice of someone I trust. If I am in conflict with someone, I practice understanding by listening with a curious mind and loving heart. I grow in spiritual understanding when I discern and heed my inner guidance. Beyond conscious thought, spiritual truth begins to illuminate my consciousness. As I release all that stands in the way of understanding and stand firm in the love that calls it forth, I am guided by my growing spiritual understanding. And from Psalm 119, 144, your decrees are righteous forever. Give me understanding that I may live. So today's daily word, understanding. I open myself to spiritual understanding. And now Michael again, and kind, loving spirit.
Yes, this is an original song too, by the way. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. I am that spirit. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. I am that spirit. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. I am that spirit. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. My loving spirit is flowing through me now. I am that spirit.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. All right, so Unity happenings. Next Sunday, our guest speaker will be Michael Bogar, so please be sure to join us for that. Starting this month, we're starting something new. Every time you make a donation by mailing in your check or making a donation online through our website using PayPal, we will put your name in a drawing for a very special gift. All donations submitted for the month of April will be eligible for the drawing that will take place by May 10th. We will notify that winner by phone call, and we will announce the winner in the eBlast newsletter. So please be sure to participate in that. It should be a lot of fun. So now we have some, oh, it did special music. Now we have special music from Michael.
I guess you have. Once again, this is an original song. It's called I'm Trusting in You, Lord. And in Unity, the word Lord means the law. Anyway, so here we go. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I am learning to love, and I am guided from above. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I'm trusting in you, Lord. God is deep inside of me. God is in everything I see. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I'm trusting in you, Lord. God is the source. God is the source of all good. God is the source. God is the source of all good. God is the source. God is the source of all good. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I'm trusting in you, Lord. I'm trusting in you, Lord. God is the source. God is the source of all good. God is the source. God is the source of all good. God is the source. God is the source of all good. God is the source. God is the source of all good. God is the source. God is the source of all good. God is the source. God is the source of all good.
Thank you, Michael. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Reverend Joanna Gabriel.
Good morning, everyone. It is so good to be with you again. It's a little weird this way. Indeed it is. But you know what? What I've come to realize through all of this, because I've done a lot of Zooming and Skyping and all through this time, is that it's not about the modus operatus, how it's happening. It's the connection itself. And that's true no matter how we get together, whether we're in the building holding hands or whether we're here through all of us looking at our screens. And so I want to reach into this screen and reach out to you and encourage you to realize and to open your hearts and know that you are loved, you are felt, you are embraced, you are missed. And it's so good to be here with you. It seems like it's been forever since I was with all of you. And it's just wonderful to hear Cindy's voice and to see Mark doing his thing and to hear Michael Gregory again. And I saw Nora there for a second. And I see that Candy's here. And all of you who come, who may see it now, who may see it later on YouTube. Blessings. Love to you. It's so good to be with you. And my goodness, aren't we living through just the most interesting time? Now, I know I have said this to you many times before, but we didn't even know what was possible, did we? Till we got to here and what we're experiencing now. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're staying well, staying strong, knowing that you're going to get through this, that we're going to get through this, that we are getting through this, that there's a reason for all of this, and many reasons, and that they may not be clear in this moment. Maybe you have come to some clarity already about this, and good for you. And I should tell Cindy to schedule you to speak in the very near future. But if you haven't come to clarity about it, just keep staying present. That's the whole thing, is stay present with it. Don't try to figure out where we're going. Don't try to figure out how long is this going to take. We don't know. Nobody knows. But what we do know is that we're alive and we're here now. And that life is pressing through us in this moment of now. And that's the truth. It doesn't change. That's always true. I titled this talk Close to the Bone, and I've given this talk a few times. This is the first time I've given it since we all got into lockdown. It's kind of interesting to be giving it now because it's probably more true than ever. Close to the bone. Are you familiar with that phrase, close to the bone? The definition of it is, if something is too close to the bone, it makes you feel uncomfortable because it is very close to the truth or to the real nature of something. And it's so interesting, isn't it, how these days and times feel like they're pushing us close to the bone. It feels like, wow. Everything that we've kind of known to be true up to this point, in many ways, is kind of turned upside down, hasn't it? It's the way we do life every day, our patterns, our rituals, our our addictions, whatever it is, however you call it, has been kind of turned on its ear in this process, in this time of being housebound and locked down and separated and social distancing and all the names that we call this experience. And it's difficult. And at the same time, I don't know if you've noticed, I hope you have, it gives us an amazing opportunity to just be with ourselves. Yes, we still have all our distractions. You can still play wordscapes and you can still do all your stuff online, of course. You can do all of that. But there's also, if you let it, there are these long stretches of just being with yourself, maybe just sitting on the porch or just looking out at the birds in the bird feeder or just noticing, watching spring as it's erupting. And isn't it interesting how even though this craziness is unfolding, spring is just doing spring like spring always does. It's like there's no interruption in spring. Spring is unfolding. Have you seen the tulip trees now? And I've just noticed the dogwood starting up. And I saw my first a lilac the other day blooming. It's spring. Says, dear ones, we're okay. We're doing this. It's still happening. It's still unfolding. It's still part of life in expression. We're still doing that. It's still here. And I'm finding that it's really interesting to just kind of be with that in this sort of sweet way without boundaries. Like it isn't that I just have 5 minutes to take a look at it. I've got all afternoon if I want to. Now, for some people, that's scary. And at the first time I did it, I felt kind of scared about it too. But I've been able to relax into it and just watch and listen and smell the smells of spring. And have you noticed how clear the sky has been? How clear the sky has become while we're not doing so much driving and so much flying? Have you noticed that you can see the mountains so much more clearly? Have you noticed that? It's a gift, my friends. It's a huge gift. And so as we're living close to the bone right now, where we're wondering, especially if you're not working, if you're not having the same income that you're used to, if you haven't received your stimulus check yet, if you're wondering how you're going to do it, maybe you kind of got it figured out for this month, but you're not so sure about next. There's that energy there. And what I've come to realize is that if we can sit with the beauty that's presented before us, that spring is offering as she erupts and shows us her colors, shares her scents with us, the clarity of the sky and the air and the water. If we can allow and feel into those energies, that those energies can fill us up and open us to the possibilities that will bring to us what is coming to fill us for next month, for next time, for whatever it is that we need for the next time. We may not have those details in this moment, but if we fill us with what we do have, and that's the thing here, if we fill ourselves up with what we do have, that gives us the nourishment or the nurturing or the seeding for what will be that which takes care of what needs to be taken care of in May or June or July or whatever it is. Does that make sense to you? And those things, they were always true. That truth of us in relationship to life and how it works was always true. We're just getting an opportunity right now in the process of this being at home and being separate, is to feel our oneness with all life. That has not changed. It won't change. It can't change. It's because it's who we are. Do you remember what it felt like when you lost your last parent or the person who took care of you or raised you when you were a child, when that last person left this life? Like if it was your parents, maybe in my case, my mother died 30 years ago, but my father died last year. And there's this feeling that happens when your last parent leaves this life. There's a feeling of vulnerability that no matter what your relationship was with them, no matter how many siblings you have, there's this feeling of vulnerability, like whoever was standing in front of you or standing behind you is no longer standing there. And there's a vulnerability that you feel. I bet if we were all together here, you would be raising your hands or going like this with me because you remember that. What did that feel like to you? Do you remember that vulnerability? I've been reading Mark Nepo's book, Exquisite Risk, and in there he's got in his chapter, Walking Close to the Bone, There's a poem here by someone named Jane Bishop. And it says, "There are no rules now. You who bore me, taught me, raised me, mother, father, friends, lovers, you are my brothers and sisters now. All that you taught me to help me in life is no longer true, unless I find it so. Your truth's for you, mine for me. But I, being some part child still, grieve for the missing parents to be no more, nor to be a parent myself, no longer even a child of God, but co-creator." This is frightening. This is glorious. And the idea that we're standing in life, there's no one standing in front of us, we're facing life ourselves. And what Mark Nepo mentions in this chapter, and what I'm coming to realize is true, is that in a way it serves us very well, because it's the very thing that stood in front of us, the have-tos, the shoulds, what you ought to do, what you should, what you haven't done and you were supposed to be doing, and why didn't you do it right, and all of that stuff that we've carried all this time, that it begins to fall away, and there's nothing in the way, nothing blocking us in this moment in life anymore, if we allow it. Mark says, "I'm only scared when thinking of the rules which say I'm not enough. And if I set them aside, there is nothing between me and the next moment about to happen." And so when I talk about this idea that the last parent has died and there's a vulnerability, it's like we're alone in life now. Remember when you were a kid and you were going to school and you were learning about being an American and how proud to be an American, because the American was the best of everything, and that we learned in American government and our civics and our geography and everything, and we learned, and we went to the 4th of July parades, and it didn't matter what your politics were or what your parents' politics were or anything, but there was this pride, and there was this feeling of, wow, I'm so glad that I'm an American, and it's so good, and people respect that and respect the flag and all of those kinds of things. And even when we were growing up in the 60s and we were marching and all of that, and we're upset about the Vietnam War and all of those things, and there's been many things through the years that we didn't agree with, but there was always something about being part of the American family that we knew underneath it all, that no matter if you agreed or you didn't agree, that the folks, the powers that be, had your back. That no matter what was going down, underneath it all, they had your back. And it may be true at this moment in time with the circumstances that are going on, you may not feel that so strongly anymore. You may not be so sure about that. It's almost like a similar feeling to when the last parent left, and we're standing kind of vulnerable. We're standing kind of vulnerable, looking at the rest of the world going, I don't know what's going on, and what I thought was true maybe isn't true, or maybe isn't as true as it used to be, or maybe not as many people that agreed with the truth that I agreed with are running things, or I don't know. We can't talk about politics particularly, but I have a feeling you know what I mean. That kind of sense of uncertainty. And it's the same kind of thing that Mark is talking about, that as we let that stuff that we thought was true, that defined us, that drew the lines in the sand, that said this is how it is and this is how it isn't, may not be so true anymore. There may be a part of you that goes, well, so what do I hold on to now? The truth is, dear ones, is the truth that was always there, that isn't dependent on the line in the sand, that isn't dependent on the politics or who's running the world or who's in charge, or who's got all the money, or who's got all the power. That isn't dependent on any of that, that never was. That is the truth of all of this, all of us in oneness with a divine essence that we all are and all are a part of. And it may be that the power for us in the midst of this crazy time is to become aware of this truth of us like we never have before. That no matter what the circumstances are out there, and if you're trying to follow them and figure out what's true and what isn't, I recommend that you take regular breaks, that you turn it off or turn it down. Breathe, go for a walk, take regular breaks, because a lot of it doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. And it certainly doesn't mesh with what you've known to be true for a long time. Don't let it confuse you. Don't let it scare you. This is all the noise that's coming to the surface because it needed to. Remember how we've talked in the past that there's more love on the planet than there ever was. And what does love do? It embraces us and it seeks out anything unlike itself and draws it to the surface to be healed, to make room for more love. Do you see that that is happening in an enormous way now? Do you get that? Can you see that? Are these the end times? No. Are they the end times of a lot of stuff that we thought was in charge? Yeah, probably. And is that scary? Sure can be, especially for those who are holding on to it. But if your truth comes from within, where it belongs, this is just another opportunity to get to clarity about that, to let that come forth for you. This whole idea, this whole thing, and it's a serious thing, this idea of this virus, that it has been running rampant in our world. We saw it far off and now it's come close. It's actually come really close in our community at Unity of Whidbey. Our member, who is our oldest member and been a member for the longest, just passed away from the virus yesterday. He was at Carriage. You may have heard about the nursing home Carriage in Hoopville that has had an outbreak that has, I don't know, something like 50 cases. And Ned, our dear Ned, has been the 8th death at Carriage through all of this. And so we send him on his way with love and light. He had a lot of other things going on for him. That's why he was at Carriage in the first place. But it was ultimately the virus that completed his earthly presence here. And you may know people yourself who have been touched by the virus. And it's very easy to become frightened or to be afraid of it or to worry about it or to be concerned, or as we walk around, when you go to the store wearing gloves and a mask and having to look at people with most of their face hidden. This kind of stuff is not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. Most of us have not been like this. I don't know if I had never before gone to the grocery store and had to wait and stand outside and wait for somebody to come out before I could go in. I don't know if that's happening in Bremerton, but it is here on the island. These kinds of things that we're dealing with aren't easy. They're not. No one's making light of what this is. Dear ones, remember that you are more than these circumstances. That if you take the time and feel into, because I know the mask is hot. It's too hot. I hate wearing that mask. It's hot. But I have recently gone into the store with the mask and the gloves. And instead of feeling discomfort about it, taking the time to notice the world from behind that mask. noticing how people are who they are, whether they're wearing a mask or not. Getting a sense of when people are smiling behind the mask, because you can see it in their eyes. You can see the smile in their eyes. The opportunity is so huge for us to live through this, to be who we are, and to be even more, allowing more of the truth of us as we walk through this experience together. Mark says, and I refer back to this book, Exquisite Risk, there is a common heart beneath all human longing that burns like that fire at the center of the earth. And despite the weight of living, there is within each of us a luminescent heat from that fire that can be blocked but not contained. In the end, we are worn to the same bone, each of us hallowed to the one light we all take turns becoming. It's how that fire that no one sees keeps singing, for we each in our turn burn at the center under everything. It's how the song of a lifetime is played until we become the earth. It's how the breath of centuries keep rising. Dear ones, the prayer here is the dearest thing we can give is to surface with the sheen of our spirit. We can do this behind the mask, behind the gloves, behind these circumstances, behind the confusion, behind the noise, behind the doubt. Underneath it all, we're all humans just wanting to know that we're part of something larger, that we're part of one another. Haven't you been blessed by hearing about all the loving kindness, about the healthcare workers, the people who are out there doing it every day, 24 hours a day, being there, helping to save lives, helping to be the last human that people are with before they make their transition because their families can't be there. People sharing their wealth, their food, their love, their light. This always happens in the time of crisis because it's the truth of who we are. And there is no virus or no negativity that can get underneath that. And so I invite you to breathe now. Breathe. Feel yourself, feel your being in this moment of now. Breathe. Breathe and allow. Allow the truth of you to come forth in this time. You have it. It is who you are. And yes, this time is difficult. This time is scary, but it is certainly not bigger than the truth of who you are if you let the truth of who you are come forth. And so breathe and let the truth of you bubble up through your heart. It doesn't come forth through your head. It comes forth through your heart. So quiet the head and allow the heart. Let it bubble up. Let it come forth and envelop you. Let it embrace you. Let it comfort you. Divine essence. I open all my doors and windows. Come forth in me. Help me to feel the strength, the stamina, the balance Help me to be reminded in each moment of now that I am part of something so powerful, so eternal, so everlasting. And that as I am aware of that and breathe and allow it forth, it spills out from me, through me, and goes out to the person next to me, to the person 6 feet away, to the person 6 feet away from them, through all the social distancing. And it envelops and embraces everyone in my neighborhood, in my community, in Bremerton, on the peninsula, in our state, in our country, in our world, on our planet. And in this moment of now, where everyone who is suffering, and the families of those suffering, and the healthcare workers who are helping those who are suffering, and those who are feeling so alone in this time, and all those you know who could use this reminder, that they too are embraced in something so much larger than these circumstances. And it will lift them if they allow it. Remember, we have to say yes. And because we're all one, as we say yes, as you and I say yes, as Mark and Cindy and Michael and Nora and Candy and everyone who's here with us says yes, all life is lifted up. All our brothers and sisters, all wildlife, all nature is lifted up and receives the blessing. And for the opportunity to be reminded of this truth of us in this moment. We are grateful, and so it is. Amen. Much love to you all. Blessings to everyone, and happy birthday, Cindy.
Thank you very much, Reverend Joanna. I'm going to put out a message on both YouTube. We have YouTube watchers and we have Zoom watchers, and see if anybody has any questions for you. So I'll give them a full minute to either raise their hand on Zoom or to type in a question on YouTube for Reverend Joanna.
Well, Cindy, maybe I put everybody to sleep, or don't have any questions today. I guess the most important point that I would want everyone to go away from here today is to remember that, yeah, this is close to the bone, but this also gives spirit more access to us than ever. Allow it. We're okay. We'll be okay. Much love to you all. Blessings, everyone.
Thank you so much, Reverend Joanna. All right, Michael, how about some music?
Sure, why not? What the heck? I just wanted to, this song is called Hero in Your Eyes. And I wrote this song actually, I believe it was for the Olympics or something that I had in mind, but I never thought it would have come to be so appropriate for a time like this. So this goes out to all the folks that working at the grocery stores, our son who's a truck driver out there making sure people get their goods and so forth, in spite of all of it, the healthcare workers, and also to the folks who are sitting home who can't work because they are like myself, or musicians, or restaurant workers, everybody out there, you're all heroes in one way or another. It's for you. You're here with me, I live for you. You are the reason that I do the things I do. I'll stand and fight, graceful. I'll face the fears, I must go. There's just one thing that I think that you should know. I always want to be a hero in your eyes. I'll risk it all, there is no compromise. For my life is done, I long to be the one you call a hero in your eyes. Challenges may come, but I won't turn and run. I'll try to touch the sun until I am a hero in your eyes. The fire burns, I'll touch the flame. I do it not seeking glory, wealth, or fame. I'll stand and fight the greatest foe, face the fears, and go where I must go. But there's one thing that I think that you should know. I always want to be a hero in your eyes. I'll risk it all, there is no compromise. For my life is done, I long to be the one you call a hero in your eyes. I always want to be a hero in your eyes. I'll risk it all, there is no compromise. For my life is done, I long to be the one you call a hero in your eyes. The one you call a hero in your eyes. I always want to be a hero in your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. You put the PowerPoint up. Yeah. So now would be our time of offertory. And we have two ways for you to contribute now that we're not there in person. You can mail your check to the address you should be seeing on our PowerPoint screen there. It's Unity of Bremerton, P.O. Box 2218, Bremerton, Washington, 98310. Or you can go to our website, www.unitybremerton.org, and click on the Make a Donation tab, which is at the top of the page. So as you are preparing your tithes and love offerings today, Think about how blessed you are. And as you are writing your check or giving your gift, send your blessings out. And together, divine love in and through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And now would be our time for good news. So for those of you that are on Zoom, if you go to your chat box, you can raise your hand and we will attempt to unmute so that you can share your news. Or if you want to type that into the chat, you can share it and I'll share it verbally. Same with our YouTube viewers. If you'd like to share some good news, type it into the chat box and I'll be happy to share it with everybody else. Nora got a brand new laptop. Congratulations, Nora. No. We've got about a 20-second delay with the YouTube, so we'll give you about another 30 seconds to see if anybody else wants to share any good news. I think the good news I'd like to share is, as far as I know, we don't know of anybody in our immediate group that has been affected by the virus. So we are very, very thankful for that. We send out our prayers and good thoughts every day, hoping that that stays the course and that we are all able to see each other in person again very soon. Mary Ellen says, happy birthday to Cindy and others in April. Thank you, Mary Ellen. We do have several April babies in our group. Most of the birthdays were earlier this month, but and you know, happy birthday to anybody who may be celebrating a birthday today or this month. It's an accomplishment for some of us. All right, well, I'm going to call it all good with the good news. Thank you all for sharing. And now let's do our peace song together.
Oh, by the way, Cindy, happy birthday.
Thank you, Michael.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Cindy. Happy little birthday. And many more.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. And by the way, happy birthday, belated birthday, a friend who's in the other room.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it be. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. God has people are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begins with me, and this is the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
All right, together, everyone. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we hope to see you again next Sunday. Blessings to all. Thank you, Reverend Joanna. Thank you, Michael.